Hello, my name is Trina Davis, and I will be discussing a social group meeting I held at my home on Thursday, April 25th. The meeting was from 12:30 p.m. to 2 p.m. During my opening remarks, I thanked everyone for their willingness to support my endeavors, and I also clarified the purpose of the meeting was for me to lead a group session with adults within my community. But my primary focus for this meeting was to create a safe space for retirees who may be looking to fulfill their purpose after retirement. My hope was that as a support group, I would offer this to for each other to navigate through our retirement journey. There were no thoughts shared or questions about the purpose of the meeting. So at that time, I transitioned over to the middle phase of the meeting. The middle phase started with a rounds activity. I incorporated a rounds activity to introduce so that each participant could introduce themselves to the group. Although our group was familiar with one another, this also gave them the opportunity to reorient themselves with each other. I asked each person in the group to introduce themselves, state how long they worked at the company we retired from, and to also tell what department they were in when they retired. I selected the person to my left to begin the round. Each participation, each participant had a chance to speak without prompting, and the norm was set for the next person to the left to continue and speak until everyone had a chance to speak. I was the last participant to complete the introduction round, which took around 10 to 12 minutes to complete. At the duration of the introduction round, on my breakfast bar, which is in my dining room area where I held the meeting, I had the pre-printed icebreaker exercise with a worksheet and with pens for our participants to use. So I asked the participant to pass out the worksheet along with a pen to each person. While Tracy was passing out the papers and pens, I thanked the group for their responses and commented that within this room alone, we averaged a tenure of 25 years at the company. I thanked Tracy for her help in passing out the papers and pens. I began introducing the sentence completion exercise to the group. My primary purpose for choosing the sentence completion exercise was to get the participants to focus on the content in a meaningful but not a too intense way. This is something that was described in our text on Jacob's ETL and our group dynamics, ETAL, in chapter 5 of the text. I told the members to think back to when they were still working and remember a time when they thought about what they would do when they retired. This is where I wanted them to go before we actually did our ice breaking exercise. Thinking about other things they wish they could accomplish when they retire, and with this in mind, I asked the participants to complete the following 3 sentences. The first sentence was, now that I'm retired, I am happy doing blank. The next one was, now that I am retired, my priority is fill in the blank. The third sentence began with now that I'm retired, I will fill in the blank. And I added in parentheses, I will do, go, or be, fill in the blank. I gave the participants 5 to 7 minutes to complete the sentences, and I told them they would have an opportunity to share and discuss their responses in more detail after they completed the sentences. I said this so that they could just use 1 or 2 words to complete the sentence, their thought. I assured them that there were no right or wrong answers, no judgment. We were using this exercise as a way to have a check in moment with ourselves to see if we are doing what we said we would do when we retire. Once this was done, I asked for volunteers to share. 4 participants volunteered to share their thoughts without being asked. Some were able to complete the sentences with 1 to 2 words, such as, now that I'm retired, I am happy doing nothing. That got a great big laugh from everyone. One of the other ones said for the same one, I am happy doing whatever I want to and completing my day wherever I want to go. Others did put more thought into completing their sentences that sounded more like goals they were setting for themselves. During this time, I was able to scan the room while participants were talking. I noticed some nonverbal communication being demonstrated with head nods in agreement with what other participants were saying. The participation was pretty smooth. The room was light, not very much tension was there, is was really what I'm trying to say. Um, and I could tell that the participants were mostly focused on what was being said by whoever was speaking at the time. There was also one moment where a participant who kept adding to what another participant was saying, and I used the cutting off member to hold the focus technique by interjecting and saying to her that that's a great way of looking at it, but let's allow her to finish sharing, and we will go back to you next. It was met with agreement by the one who was interrupting, and with everyone else. So I was a little uncomfortable with the cutting off because I didn't do it at first, but I did see where it was needed. Now, the bulk of the meeting was dedicated to the icebreaker and the participants sharing their thoughts about retirement. This part of the meeting was about 45 minutes. Once everyone had a chance to share. I checked the room to see if anyone could use a short break. We did agree on a 5-minute break, and this gave us all time to move to my living area to where we would have more room to be more comfortable, stretch out, and to finish our the midsection and the closing section of our meeting. Once the group came back together in the living room, we moved into the final part of our working session. I asked if anyone wanted to share any aha moments or just anything that they wanted to actually discuss a little further and what they may have heard from someone, from myself, or something that they wanted to clarify that they had shared. Excuse me. 4 participants shared, and another participant said that she was ready to start some SMART goals, just like we did while working at the company. I thanked her for bringing up SMART goals because that's something we always did at our company. And as it was defined, I asked each person to work with the person next to them where they were comfortable seated and discuss a goal they would like to apply. a SMART goal for completion within the next 30 days. During that time, I allow 5 to 7 minutes for them to work with the person sitting next to them and discuss, and to also write down what their SMART goal would be on their icebreaker worksheet. This allowed me to use another technique, the dyad technique, to where both participants were able to discuss their goal and write it down, with the strategy of taking the goal home and to complete it within 30 days by us applying the SMART goal technique. Our time was winding down, so I wrapped up the meeting by thanking the group for sharing and being honest with themselves about their retirement journey and the work that they did for themselves today. I encouraged them to be patient with themselves because it's still new to them, and the answers will come in time. In my own self-reflection and self-assessment and overall performance, overall, I think the meeting went well. I was able to keep the meeting on topic and progressing throughout the meeting. I was able to hold the group's attention by using some of the leadership techniques taught in our text, such as the introduction round, the dyad I used to set goals. I used the sentence completion exercise. I also was able to explain some of the group rules about non-judgment, and no right or wrong answers. We focus on the content of the meeting. I was able to use the cutting off members to hold the focus technique, and also scanning the room for nonverbal communication was some of the leadership techniques that I was able to demonstrate throughout the session. In closing, I ended the meeting promptly at 2 p.m. to allow participants time to beat the rush hour traffic. After all, we're retired, so there was no reason for us to be stuck in rush hour traffic. Several of the ladies still wanted to hang around and talk about continuing to meet, and keep going on with the support group. I told them that I would be definitely interested in doing so, but that I would need help and it would be a group effort because there was a lot involved in planning and setting up the group meeting. So they all assured me that they would be interested in helping out and taking on roles to continue this support group. So all in all, I believe that my pre-planning and the walkthroughs helped me get to a place for where I felt what I should expect in the actual meeting. I'll continue to work on applying more of the leadership techniques that we studied. I found some were not as easy to apply to my one-time meeting scenario as they could have been in other types of group sessions that may have already been in place. I thank you, Professor, for this opportunity. I know my skills will continue to get better the more I use them. This assignment has truly been a challenge for me, but the experience I gained has been truly valuable. So I thank you. I know I went over in time, but I hope that you do listen to my video in its entirety because this was a great challenge for me. Thank you. Bye.